Hi, everyone, and welcome to Shmindle Shmumlimited, the podcast for reviews, rants, and ramblings about books from our favorite way to get books, the Kindle Unlimited universe. I'm one of your hosts, Amity.
And I'm Lauren.
And I'm Steph. And this week we read The Bonus by T L Swan, which just got released August 13th. So today is the 22nd. I wrote the date on the board. So it got released like 9 days ago.
We read fast.
Yeah, and we read it pretty quickly.
But before we get else?
Yeah, before we get started, have you read anything? Or I know I just finished the first part of season 4 of Emily in Paris.
How is it?
I watched it all in one night.
Oh my God. So I couldn't get past the first episode of the first season because I just was
cringing the entire time. I cringed.
I like that show, but it's about I just like watching the fashion and their lives are so crazy. Like it's just entertaining with how ridiculous their lives are and unfathomable for the money.
Yes. I just cringe, but it's like a cringy, but I can't stop watching.
I couldn't get past the cringe. I couldn't.
My mom loves it, and she's French.
That's fun.
Yeah, no, she loves the show. And
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so her and I will call each other and stuff like that. So I just finished the first part of season 4 because they're releasing the second part in September.
I just finished the first book. I started the Shatter Me series. It was released maybe a decade ago. It's reminds me of Hunger Games / the one with 4. What's his?
Inverted.
Enough. Dystopian YA, they have powers, mutant people. It's okay so far.
What about you, Amity? Are you reading anything, watching anything?
I watched the first 3 episodes of Emily in Paris, and then I've been reading The Burnout, which is the first book in the series that last week's episode was about. That's the book. So I've been enjoying that. I don't like these characters as much, but because it's the
gymnast, right?
Yeah.
What?
The gymnast?
I don't know much about her yet. It's a very long time really about her seeing him at the motorcycle thing. And I've been reading this for a little bit. I think I'm in the double-digit percents, but I might not be. But I read myself to sleep for the most part, and I don't love them as much.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay.
So for Emily in Paris, are you team Alfie or team Gabriel?
Alfie, 1,000%.
Yeah, me too. So.
If I feel like if Gabriel was supposed to be the good guy who we all liked, I don't know, I want him to
show some effort.
Yeah, show more effort, show more. I don't know. I just don't like it.
Yeah,
just more.
So my mom is team Gabrielle, and her and I were having this conversation.
That checks out.
Yeah, she's French, of course. I'm team Alfie. So it's funny because, and then also, spoiler alert, they're bringing in another male character.
Yay, good. Because I feel like they're trying to say goodbye to Alfie.
Oh, he's Italian. Marcello is coming in.
Oh, of course.
So your dad's coming in.
Yeah, my So my thing with Gabrielle is I think his relationship with Camille is just too tight. Yes. And I wouldn't want to be in that relationship if my significant other had that close of a relationship with his ex-fiance, I don't even know what she is.
They were good as friends. More than friends feels forced. It feels very much like it will fizzle out. I'm hot, you're hot, let's try this. But then okay. Let's go back to being friends.
Requirement to date, you're both hot. We should give it a shot.
But the thing is funny, I find Gabrielle not that good looking. I find Alfie much more. I find him better. I find Alfie better looking.
Are both of these characters French?
No, Alfie's English.
Okay.
Yeah. What was it at the beginning of the summer? Was it Rat Boy Summer or something? I feel like Gabrielle is that. With the slight greasy hair, the longer face, and that's that grungy, skinnier. It's just not my
Like we're going back to the 90s.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
Yes. What was it like Rat Boy Summer? Now I feel bad.
I don't know, but he
It
looks
wasn't
like
a nice name. Like it wasn't.
it's like dirty.
Yes.
He looks
Yeah.
dirty. I
Just
don't know.
I wanted to watch
Alfie does?
No, Gabrielle looks. I just don't like he doesn't showered.
Ew.
Like his hair looks like greasy.
Yeah, and I get it. Like you're cooking all the
Yeah,
time,
he's a
and
chef.
that's a sweaty job. And
But that makes me not want to eat your food.
I know, he's trying to get
he's
Michelin.
not like touching it. It's just
Okay. All right.
like
Yeah.
grungier, greasier look.
Okay.
That wasn't for me. Speaking of things that wasn't for me,
Let's get
into this week's book. So we read The Bonus by T L Swan, and I want to begin by saying I have read entire other series by T L Swan and loved them.
Yes.
I think T L Swan is a good author who can write amazing books. I think The Bonus in this book would have been some editing. It was not for me. What about you guys?
I wanted it to be for me. And as I got through it more and more, it just rubbed me the wrong way more as I kept reading.
I think it was just I just couldn't. I couldn't. Like every sentence I was like, stop.
There was so much, everything was toxic about this book.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that were unnecessary.
Yes. So let's get into it. So our female main character is Grace Porter, and our male main character is Gabriel,
Gabriel, yeah.
Gabriel, because he's Italian. Gabriel Ferreira, and Grace is Gabriel's personal assistant, and Gabriel is a billionaire of Ferreira Enterprises or something like that. I don't know. He like runs Ferreira Enterprises. And
pause you. All of the books I've read, there's a lot of really hot single billionaires running around New York.
I know. We gotta go. We didn't find any in DC, but
No. All right, resume. Sorry.
So Grace is Gabriel's personal assistant in the most hostile human resources should have been involved a long time ago environment. Her day begins by greeting Gabriel, where he makes her coffee while half dressed, and then he finishes getting dressed while she watches him. Sometimes the women from the night before are leaving for some reason he lives like in the penthouse that's like opens like to his office that like actual office that opens to the work office. Like talk about balance or whatever. Anyways, that's how her day starts every day. And he's, always like, send her flowers and say like, thanks for the merms or whatever. I don't know. But like, there is absolutely nothing compelling that makes you think this is going to be a stand-up guy. In fact, if it didn't switch sometimes to his point of view, I feel like I would have been waiting for Gabriel to have been the villain and there to have been a nice guy. That's how awful he opens up and is described.
And she's like weirdly obsessed with her boss.
Yeah, she's in love with him. She is in love with him, and he is the worst. He's the absolute worst. There's nothing compelling. It's not like she hears him say kind things about other people. It's not like she's witnessed him, telling off this woman, but then paying off the school lunch debts down the street. Like, there is absolutely nothing that...
No redeeming quality.
No. And we... spoiler alert, we never learned them.
Like, they don't exist.
Yeah. Like one of the questions I want to get to later for you guys to just preemptively be thinking about is there any one thing that could have changed how you felt about the book for you? And I've got two different things I was considering, but like that would have made you, okay, this book was better. But as I was thinking through, like that was one of mine. Like, I don't know what makes him great, but she is hopelessly in love with this guy. And I don't know, is like worried about some company policy or something. I don't know why she doesn't tell him, doesn't try to make him nothing. I don't know. So she decides, this is it. I'm giving up what must be at least a well-paying job, hopefully, if he's taking that bunch of human resources liabilities with her. And so she saves the money and is going to buy a house out in Maine on a lake.
Yeah, where her cousin lives.
Yes, on the lake where her cousin lives. And so she starts to put this plan into place and continues her crappy job being his personal assistant, you know, getting like the worst part of her job she describes as getting to watch him get dressed every day. And like honestly, if he's quiet while he's getting dressed, I feel like that would be the best part of the job. But
It is not.
It's dropped a little bit that, he'll only buy diamonds for the women he loves, as she's like picking out Christmas presents or something for the randos. And so finally, she figures out she's going to give her 2 weeks notice. She's like trained up some guy who works there, potentially also with a G name, like Greg or something, because everybody's name starts with G in this book. And she's trained up her replacement without her boss actually knowing that she's leaving, and is about to resign basically right before she has some planned time off, and then it's Christmas. And she like looks hot at the Christmas party because of her morals, that like it wasn't okay for her to like her boss, but it was okay for him to get dressed in front of her every day. And he ignores her completely because he's a dick. And then she goes to go back to her desk before leaving on like what's her last day, last moment. And she like walks in his office to like smell him one last time or something. I don't know. It's weird. And he
take a memento of him.
Yeah.
Lock of hair.
He gives her her bonus, which is very good sex, apparently. And this is where the book began to lose me. Because
early on.
You know what? Whatever, it being early on, like we know the genre we're reading, like it's fine. Yeah. When she describes her vagina as her sex, I was like, I cannot. Like my sex was throbbing. Like, are you kidding? Oh my God. I can't like that is, and it was what, like 6% or something?
It was like 5%, I think.
It was so early in the book. And again, I am fine with the early spice. Like it's whatever, but not that word. Come on. Like how old, like it's like you're trying to not like, I don't know, use different words for it, but like we're reading this, but like you are going into like the veins on his dick. Like it
was so much.
Like that word replacement, like I can't. It's like that. It's when they describe the female part as her sex and him as like his member, and they didn't describe his member, or I probably would have been like, we have to read a different book. I'm sorry, you guys.
Appendage.
Yeah. So like, but, and this was the very beginning of the book. So already my eyes are rolled pretty far in the back of my head, but not too far that I could still read. And Gabriel's driver, whose name is Mark, who's there all the time.
Who's his best friend and insanely attractive.
Best friend, driver, bodyguard, personal assistant, chef-ish.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, and Gabriel fires him like
multiple times throughout the book.
Times, yeah.
Because that's Gabriel. He fires people.
Because he's a dick. Because there's never any redeeming qualities about him. Anyways, he's a member, we should say. No, I'm kidding. But the book is so awkward. Anyways, so Mark, the driver, real personal assistant, security guy, whatever, is supposed to take Grace home, but instead brings her straight to Gabriel's. And he's like, I brought you here so we can continue the night, even though I blew you off before. And she's like, YOLO, and goes for it. And then the next day, Gabriel's back to being a jerk. And he lets her know that, nothing can happen because you're not Italian. Sorry about it. Bye. Peace out. And gives her like Christmas present, parting gift or whatever. And it's like a long, skinny box, and she thinks it's a pen. So
he told her it was a pen.
Oh, even better. So he's a liar and a dick. And so Grace goes to Maine and like loves it. She's got a cute little house. She is great. And then eventually she opens up the gift and she's like, this wasn't a pen. This was a diamond tennis bracelet. Interesting. And so she wears it for a little bit because he would only buy diamonds for someone he loves. And she like thinks maybe there's something, but they're not like talking or anything. So like, I don't know what the something is, lady. Like you've got such low expectations for how you should be treated, both in the workplace and personally. Anyways, so 6 weeks later, she realizes she's pregnant. And she's only had sex like once in the past 4 years or something like that. And well, one night, I should say, because we got all the details about the multiple times that she did have sex. But she's pregnant and she thinks, well, her and her cousin Deb, the one she moved to Maine for, are like, well, we should probably tell Gabriel. And so instead of, I don't know, texting him, calling him, she thinks we should fly to New York City to do this in person.
That's the only way to do
And
it.
Deb is definitely her ride or die. She is always down to go to New York City, apparently. And so they go to New York. They like stalk Gabriel and then decide, oh, now that we're here, let's call him.
While we see him walking
Well, we
around.
can see, I know. Instead of being like, yo, Gabe, or whatever. I don't know. Or just like, hey, fancy seeing you here outside this office building that I definitely know you were in the lunch I definitely knew you were having. Whatever. So they watch him ignore the call because like he's at his business lunch and it's the woman who like he definitely hooked up with. He bought the diamond tennis bracelet for like, so I feel like Grace feels like there's something and like, oh my gosh, I really want to talk to you, but like this is so not the setting for it. Is not the kind of conversation that Gabriel with his like important man billionaire business can have. And so Grace is like, well, fine. I guess I'll have to go through the regular channels to see him. So when she knows he's in the office, she tries to visit him like normal without actually having an appointment, but lies about having an appointment. And this part was also very confusing because like, Grace, you know how the schedule and stuff works. Like, you know that they're not just going to let some person meet with him. Like, what are you thinking? Like that's what he pays all these different layers for. Like there was the initial security people who had to call up to the person who's managing his actual calendar, who was probably not that Greg person that she trained up, but like maybe Greg was like a part of it or something. Like the messaging's awful because they're playing telephone a bunch of ways because you can't just march into an office and meet with the CEO.
Even if you were his personal assistant. Also, she worked there for so long and had just recently left.
It's only 6 weeks. Like someone would recognize.
Yeah, like how does nobody recognize her?
Because she goes up the back elevator straight to his bedroom to watch him get dressed. The people at the front desk never see her. I don't know. It was awful. So she's so mad, and she's like, "Fine, I gave him a chance to see me, and he's not seeing me. So I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm gonna have this baby on my own." She takes off the diamond bracelet, but she keeps it and does not sell it. I probably would have sold it, but that's the point. We get into Gabriel's point of view. It turns out he did want to see her. He just was so busy. He asked if she could come back the next day, but of course, like the 14 layers of security didn't work through that. So when Grace didn't come back the next day, now she's pissed and she took off the bracelet and she blocked his number. And he's a billionaire. Like, just get somebody to actually contact her. Like, whatever. Grace is upset. Turns out it's not just one baby, it's two babies. And she's having twins.
It's like double whammy for Amity. She already hates the pregnancy trope, and it's like twins.
Right.
Also, it bothered me so much that she didn't tell him because I understand that you're upset, but like
You didn't actually fucking tell him.
you didn't tell him. Also,
Write him a letter.
yes, I'm sorry. He's a billionaire. You're a single mom, like
Raising twins.
Like no, you know, in order to give your kids the best life, you would need to tell him.
Apparently Monopoly money actually works.
The more confusing to me part was like, fine, you don't want to be a part of this. I'm never going to tell you nothing ever. But then to go through, so part of the reason Gabriel couldn't be with her is because she was an Italian, and it was very important to him and his family and his mom that he marry someone who was also like full-blooded Italian, and that his kids learn Italian and visit Italy and blah blah blah. And it's one thing to be like, fine, you're not going to know about these kids. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to give them my last name and everything. But then she gives their kids, these Italian names. She hires them this Italian nanny, so they learn Italian. They grow up very aware they have an Italian heritage. And she goes with the story for her parents, for basically everybody but Deb, that the kids were sperm donored. So she obviously must have been making great money for everybody to think
She
like,
never works again.
well, she had a job, but I couldn't figure out exactly what it was and how there's still the money to afford that while she's got this very nice flexible job in small town Maine that she seems to be able to get like a lot of time off for, like a lot.
Bank, like she's approving.
Oh, yes. I forgot. She's like insurance policy.
Yeah, or she writes like loans at a bank. So I think that was what it was.
There's no way this pays whatever. Anyways, so she hires a whole live-in nanny. I can't. You guys. Anyways, and so kind of nothing happens, but thing happens. I don't know. Like Grace dates some people. The twins get older.
It like progressed rapidly. It was like 1 year later.
Yeah, and then
6 months later.
Yeah, and I think it was just showing, like, I feel like the purpose of that, like we could get into the specifics, but I feel like a lot of it was just to show that they still think about each other.
Yeah.
And so like time passes and
Gabriel starts like actually dating someone.
Right. He's like, now is the time and I'm going to settle down. And so he went to Italy and he found Ariana, and she's everything because she's like good looking and his mom likes her and she's Italian and she can have kids. And these were kind of his expectations.
But he never proposes to her.
No.
No.
And I did like her that she's like, it's time, we should get married now. And he's like, okay. And then she just like goes ahead with it. Like, great, here's this ring that I bought myself and I'm just going to plan this wedding and like, cool. And he just kind of is like, well, going through the motions, this must be life. I'm not allowed to know what happiness is. And then he decides maybe he wants to know what happiness is. And he like is out at dinner and sees this guy who used to know Grace because he worked there while Grace worked there too.
Shocker. Gabriel fired him.
And yeah. And
also, how is this never brought up before? Wait, yeah, go on.
That no one ever saw Grace ever again. She like never posted on social. Got these kids.
Yeah.
7 years later.
Right. One of them happened to look just like my old boss. Like nobody ever puts any connections or something. Like maybe she doesn't have social. She's kind of busy, single mom, running a whole bank or something. Maybe she doesn't have social media. No friends. She didn't make a single friend the whole time she was working there. Yeah, but that was her cousin. She doesn't even have a real friend. Like, didn't make any friends. Just her cousin. There's like forced friends. I mean, not like you can't have great friends who are also cousins, but like you didn't pick them, you know?
Yeah.
So she has no actual friends. Maybe that's why she falls in love with Gabriel. He's just someone she sees who she's not related to. Anyways, that's his predominant feature. They're not related, and so anyways, man, you guys. Anyways, so Gabriel finds out that Grace was like pregnant real rapid after they had hooked up, and he has all sorts of feelings. And I can't tell, I think they were just a montage of potential betrayal. Like, how dare you have slept with somebody else besides me? How dare you have had my kids and not told me? How dare you have a lie? I don't know. Just continues to be a dick and has a dickish response and like barges, like doesn't reach out, doesn't anything.
He just like goes to her house.
Yeah, just like shows up and is like,
and yells,
"Hey, kid who I've just met, spit in this cup so I can find out things." And Grace is like, "Hey, we should probably talk like just as adults and maybe be like
not the kids."
Yeah, like they are 6.
And like the boy like yells at him because he's yelling at Grace. I mean, that's a good kid.
I know. Dominic was my favorite character.
Yes.
And so he like sort of calms down-ish. Grace does agree to the paternity test, which I actually think was like one of the smartest things that she did.
Yeah.
And for some reason, again, it like still very much confuses me because she's very much like, you don't need to have anything to do with these kids. Like, then why did you raise them in such a way that aligns with what he wanted for his kids?
That was the most, I think, confusing part too, or like not confusing, but like I was just, I don't know. I saw he yells at her. Okay, which why?
That's
why?
The great first opening.
Yeah, like
conversation starter.
Exactly. You haven't seen her in 6 years. She's been raising your kids, so your first thing to do is yell in front of her kids. Then she does the paternity test because she knows it's
he just like sent a doctor to the house, like, they're here, do it.
And she says, "Oh, but I don't want you in their lives. Well, what do you want him to do?
Right. Then why is it not Lucy and Derek?
Yeah.
I just it was very confusing.
Yes.
She does say, if you're gonna basically like disrupt their lives and all of a sudden now they have a real dad that I was like planning on telling them about eventually one day because we were gonna take that trip to Italy. Like, I don't know. Anyways, that you have to really like be a dad and your life's not really set up for that. So you're either doing this or you're not. And so he's like, fine, I'm doing this. And so he rents like the biggest house in this main lake beach town.
Well, that was after he decided he wasn't going to be part of the life.
Right.
He needed to say goodbye.
Which another weird,
I know.
weird
Demands to stay at the house with his kids and say goodbye, even though your son hates you because you yelled at his mom.
Yeah. And they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
So he's just this like grumpy, he's a good looking man. So he's like probably tall and built, like, so intimidating man. He's like, I must stay here. Like, whatever.
The son has got his same personality.
Yes, and looks just like him.
No, the son does not have the same personality. The son has a great personality.
He does. You're right. He's
like appropriately nervous and guarded and totally fine. Anyways.
They've described him as having the same personality, but I think the only same personality was they're both stubborn-ish.
Yes.
But I mean, the kid was doing.
He was protecting his mom.
Yeah, he had the correct feelings. He was the only one that had the right feelings.
Yes.
Then Gabriel realizes he's marrying his mother when Ariana and his mom like go shopping.
No, they were going shopping
and cleaning the wedding with like 100 doves.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, oh.
Yeah, they were planning the wedding and it was just
everything was engraved with their like names on it.
Yes.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And so Gabriel goes to lunch with a character named Claire, who is from the T L Swan series, the Miles High series. I loved that series. I read every single book in that series.
No, that was my favorite book. She was my favorite character.
Yes. And yeah, I loved her. I loved her. Which is why this book being not great was so shocking and confusing. Anyway.
I was also confused why Claire is friends with Gabriel.
I was trying to remember if, like, I think they're like weird cordial, like everybody's running media empires, but like we all appreciate each other.
Yeah, which
like if there's enough that we can both be billionaires and run this media empire, then like, yeah, let's all be friends.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll take my helicopter to see you on your helicopter or whatever. But Claire, because she's from a great series and was a really well-written character, continued to make good points and be a really well-written and rational character. And she's like, Gabriel, what are you doing with your life? Like that you can't marry this other person. You can't just be like, well, I had some kids, but I'm out. Like you got to do something. And so she encourages Gabriel to make a decent decision, and he calls off his wedding and is gonna really try being a dad and being a partner. And because he's a billionaire and people care what rich people do, his wedding had been in the news and it looks bad on the family. And so his mom is pissed. And so she finds out the full story and goes to, now all of a sudden everybody can find Grace. Nobody could find her before. Now everybody can find Grace. And she shows up at Grace's work. This is like one of the 3 times it's mentioned she has a job after she has left New York. And shows up at Grace's work, offers her $20 million and threatens her to just like go away, leave Gabriel alone. And Grace is like, I wasn't trying to do anything. Like, what are you talking about? And she tells her to go away. And I'm gonna be honest, I probably would have taken the $20 million. Like, that is a lot of money.
I know, seriously.
Wins. Like, what? Like, especially if you weren't planning on them being involved anyways. Like, yes, take the 20, whatever. So then Gabriel shows up in Maine and Grace is like, well, your mom was just here. Like, I don't want any part of you. And he's like, no, I'm doing this. Like, look, I've rented this crazy giant
humongous house.
And I brought security and everybody with me. And so they're trying to do it. So his plan is to like leave Monday morning and go to New York City until Thursday night and then spend the weekends in Maine,
with the kids. Okay, this was another question I had while I was reading this part. So Gabriel's this like famous billionaire. This wedding was huge. They call it off. All the paparazzi knows. But throughout the book, the paparazzi never finds out about Grace and the two kids.
Or Mark is that good at his security job.
But he's not.
I know. He like
Yeah.
loses her a bunch of times. Whole grandmas sneak up.
Yeah. So like
Exits coming. Yeah.
I never understood how this whole like he's a famous billionaire, but then like and they fly like I don't know.
Are they just in BFE Maine and that's why?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Or like
Yeah,
the
like
people
his plane is going there. Like his plane with tag number.
Yeah, like everyone tracks Taylor Swift's plane.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, like airplane JRK for jerk, has landed in his main whatever. Like I know. No, it doesn't really make sense. Like I said, the bonus to this book would have been some good editing, but it didn't happen. So that's okay. So Gabriel, the family begins to have some moments where it's like cute and family-esque, where the kids are about it. They start like a new family tradition of like bonfires and playing Uno, and things feel good. And so Grace and Gabriel have sex again, and they're like, man, it's still good sex. That's interesting. And then the next morning after they have sex, Ariana shows up at Grace's house because Mark is good enough to keep the paparazzi away, but not good enough to keep Ariana away, and sees Gabriel in his boxers and has a full-blown meltdown. Understandably so. And Gabriel has to like force her onto his airplane and into the arms of his parents, who are pissed at him, her parents, who are pissed at him. Understandably so. They just whatever. Ariana was not
This
bad.
was not a this was not a good scene of Ariana because it made her seem like now like I was picturing her like a 20-year-old who was having a temper tantrum at this point.
Little Meredith Blake.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I saw this meme about Meredith Blake and it was like made it out where she was right. It was hilarious. I'm gonna have to send it to you guys later.
But yes.
Surprise kids are not great. Surprise twins are not great, as we've learned in that movie and this book.
Yeah.
Surprise twins are not great. So Grace is super understanding-ish. Like via text, she's like, yeah, take whatever time you need, it's fine. And in real life, she's like, he's going back to her, I know it. Things are gonna be awful. And to be fair, she knows he's a dick, so there we are. But Gabriel is like, no, I made the decision. I'm going to be the dad. I'm going to do the dad thing. He shows up at the school dance. He's watching the baseball game. I decided it was baseball. Do we know what sport it was? Was it soccer? Baseball?
T-ball.
T-ball, yeah.
Dominic plays T-ball. Gabriel comes to the games. He's trying to get Grace to admit or fall back into love with him because he's just like, wow, like this girl who was my assistant, who I loved for apparently years, but never could tell because for some stupid reason, I want to love me again. So he's trying to convince her, like, yeah, this is going to be us. And so he's doing the thing.
It's funny because at this point, he's like, you know what I'm going to try? Instead of being an asshole, I think I'm going to try being nice to her and seeing if being nice helps.
But he has to try. Like, it's not like, I'll let my guard down. He has
it's
to.
An effort to be nice.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he's being nice. Things are starting to turn. And then Grace has a big fall, like down some stairs.
Wait, so I didn't understand this fall either because they're at the school dance. It happens at the school dance.
Yeah, and then she like runs away because like it's getting to be too much. And I have a feeling she ran outside and there was just a bunch of steps to like get up to the auditorium or something. And she like fell down like 2 flights of stairs.
Yes, and this
hits her head, breaks her wrist, does all the things, brain swelling.
Yeah,
in a coma.
It was a bad fall. And so Gabriel's going to help her out. He's going to lift her and take her to the toilet. He's going to wrap her cast and help her get in the shower and everything.
take care of the kids.
I really enjoyed
dinner.
the first night after she got out of the hospital when like he's having to take care of everything. Like this is what it's been like for the last 6 years. He like breaks his toe. He has to help her to the bathroom middle of the night. Like their daughter, I don't know, she had like a nightmare or something.
Yes, and he slept in bed with her, and this was when it was funny to be kind of in his head because he's like trying really hard not to be an asshole.
He had to try so hard to not be an asshole.
And you're like reading his head and it's like, dude, it's not that difficult.
Like apparently it is for him.
Oh my gosh.
And so Grace then never works again. She's like, there's nothing about her giving 2 weeks, nothing about any people she knew there at work because she just doesn't know people where she works, apparently. She just knows Deb and Gabriel. And he's trying to work from Nowhere, Maine, but in Nowhere, Maine, the internet's not strong enough to support Zoom. And so they have to go back to New York.
And you would think with all of his money, he would get like the best internet in the world. But no, it's okay.
Get a satellite. I don't know.
Right.
But they go back to New York and it's conveniently a break in school.
Like a 2-week long.
So the kids go, how convenient.
Yeah. And so they go to New York and Grace, who's been trying to live this small town life, is like, you know what? Like this is the most relatable Grace was. You know what? I love New York. It's fun here. It's great here. Also, there's a penthouse here. So it's like, hey kids, what would you think about like if we just kind of stayed here and like you started in a new school? And then we just like went back to play sports in Maine on the weekend. Like, girl, give it 6 months.
You don't have practice during the week.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, it's 6-year-old T-ball. Like it might just be all in one day. But they're gonna do this. They're gonna be halftime residents. And also like Gabriel can sponsor the entire league. So like, yeah, this kid can show up whenever, you know?
Also, New York doesn't have T-ball. I'm pretty sure
they do, but like his one best friend named Tyler is back there.
Oh, and at 6 years old, you can't make new friends.
But no, that would be too much to put these kids through. Never mind the like yell between their mom and dad. Yeah, like I can't even. And so
also this is like this also I couldn't because so like his mom comes in and like they have a good conversation and then Gabriel gets really mad and goes to his mom and stomps and is like I don't want you near my children and all this stuff and this background comes out that his sister has a partner that the mom doesn't accept.
I think it's because it's
gay, yes. And I'm thinking to myself, Gabriel, why do you even deal with your mother if she's not even gonna love her own child, like her own daughter, for being who she wants to be with? Like at that point, I would have been like, Mom, like,
peace out.
Peace out. Like, if you can't accept my sister for who she is, then
I'm gonna marry someone who's not an Italian.
Exactly. So
the whole thing
was where I was getting really. This is where I was getting really frustrated.
And it's not like the non-acceptance didn't seem like the deal breaker. It seemed like the non-acceptance to the point of writing her out of the will was the deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we find out that Gabriel wouldn't date his personal assistant because his dad left his mom for his personal assistant and like
who's also Italian.
Yeah.
But his mom was also dating her assistant too.
She was?
Yes, there was a scene with her mom was dating somebody or something.
Well, I think that's now since the dad had already left.
Yes.
But like
and the dad had asked for a divorce a number of times and the mom was like,
I know, so I still feel like
powerful.
The mom, like can you blame the dad? She sounds like a really crappy person.
Yeah, 1,000%. The mom was not stellar.
No, I mean the whole family. I don't know. Just they got problems.
Yeah, but he wanted to be with them and do what they wanted, even though he was the billionaire, he ran the business, and he could have just left.
Yeah.
But okay.
And then we get to like our final scene of the book,
where he takes on her on the best date ever, which is going to be a couple nights somewhere, and it's a surprise trip. And it's one of his favorite places. And so They fly on the airplane there, and she, I think, was really hoping for a beach vacation. And they get off the airplane, and she's like, it is not as warm as I want it to be. And he takes her blindfolded this whole time. And it was so funny. The only thing I could think about was like, she must not get car sick.
Right?
We're blindfolding me on a friggin' airplane and then in a car. I just like that. Like we would have, yeah, like we would have gotten there and I'd be like, I'm gonna need 4 hours. I'm gonna need a snack. I'm gonna need a shower, like some Pepto. Like I'm not well at this moment. But she was able to hop right into it. And they went to her backyard in Maine. And he's got like a cute little picnicky type, lights and blankets and things set up, and a playlist with specific timing of when different things should happen, and a chef who cooks them a great meal. And then he proposes, even though her wrist is broken and she can't put on the ring. And then they are getting married and they're going to be a family. And everybody lives happily ever after. And that was the story. That was the book.
There's so many concerns.
And then it's over.
And then it's over. And that was probably the best part, was when the book was over. And yeah, I've been like doing, I love reading series. I'm not gonna explore this series anymore, I don't think.
No.
Which is unfortunate because I do really like other books by this author. I don't know if it's, and it could be that this book and its tropes were just all sorts of not for me.
It was also a bunch of random tropes. Like it didn't make any sense. Like none of them made sense.
Right. It was the billionaire thing. It was lost love. It was the pregnancy trope, surprise pregnancy trope. It
the
other
mother-in-law giving her money to get out of the lives, falling down the stairs, the hospital, coma.
It was a lot. I mean, so there was a lot of plot, just not our preferred plot.
Yes. It was weird though. I read this book very quickly.
Same.
And I think it was because I was like, done with it. Like, oh, here we go again.
Would you have finished it if it wasn't for this podcast?
No. Probably not.
Probably not.
I wouldn't have either.
Longer book. It was over 400 pages.
Was it? That is longer.
So.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. Like it wasn't short.
I think I might have just finished it just to see where it would have ended up. But
I think I would have quit at the pregnancy. I would have been like, I'm out. I am out. 12%. I'm done.
Don't blame. 555 pages.
But gosh.
It was
That's too many.
But it ends on
oh right, because
it did end early. It ended at like 94%.
Yeah.
I will say I wouldn't I feel like that as a character. Like moving into favorite characters.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Dominic, I liked Dad.
I liked Lucia.
She fell for her dad too fast.
I know, but she's a 6-year-old.
I know.
That's how I would picture most 6-year-old little girls.
Yeah, you're right.
Actually, what? I have this
they
little
talk about how soft his suit was. Like, yes, yeah.
Yeah. I have a student in my class currently, and I just like have told everybody I kind of want to view the world in her eyes because she just loves everything, and she just has this she just says like everything's just so happy and everything is just good. And
I don't know like how she's gonna grow up, if she's still gonna have that outlook.
And I think that's how Lucia
I hope she does too.
Yeah. Okay, Amity came up with the questions for today because I just couldn't.
So who was right? Gabriel to barge into their lives and very quickly tell the kids he was their dad, or Grace for keeping them from him? Who was righter? Neither of them are right, but who was more right?
I was gonna say like none of the above.
I feel I would have to probably side with Grace because I'd say I don't want a dick to be around my kids. But do you have the right to not tell someone they have children?
Yeah. I think I understand Gabriel's, but I also think that Gabriel, maybe that's like his personality.
Like, just take a chill pill, bud.
Yeah, seriously.
But I mean, I have patients who are just like hot-headed and they'll just like lose it. I'm like, okay, are you calm now? Because let's continue talking.
Yeah.
And then they calm down. But
they're also like older men.
Yeah, this guy's like in his 30s.
Right. And you're not 6.
80. Yeah.
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 So what was your biggest ick?
Oh, when she went to the hospital, because at that point I was like, are you joking right now?
That was probably one of my favorite parts. I don't think it was favorite. It was my least hated part of the book.
Yeah.
Because he was actually being kind.
No, I didn't mind the whole like her falling down like 20 flights of stairs and going into a coma.
I was like,
and her brain like exploding in her head. I was like,
she's just fine.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like she could have maybe like twisted an ankle.
I think my biggest ick was the way he acted around the kids initially. Like, you're an adult. You should be able to control your emotions a little better and regulate yourself, especially in front of children.
Yeah. What about you, Amity?
I don't know.
What was your reaction when you found it was twin pregnancies?
I could not roll my eyes harder.
Were you on the plane?
What?
Were you on the plane when you found that out?
Yes. And Brian met this wonderful woman on the airplane, and she was in the window seat. He sits in the middle, and then I sit on the aisle. And they were chatting the whole time, and sometimes trying to like bring me into the conversation. And I'm like, I gotta read this book. Like, I'm recording, in a couple of days. Like, I gotta finish this book. And I feel like maybe he could hear me like, like just sighing and stuff. Trying to. It's like I gotta keep going. I don't know. I would say I didn't even think. I think my biggest ick was from the beginning how Gabriel didn't treat her with respect, like in regards to getting dressed in front of her and everything, like, because at no point in the book does he have a redemption arc.
Yeah.
Like,
he
sucks the whole time.
And when he comes along and wants to be a dad, like, he's still kind of doing the bare minimum.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's being in his head. He's like, it's so, I just want to, like, he like barks, not barks, but like in his head, he's just like grumpy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you're parenting for a day.
Right. There was not a redeeming component to it. And so I kind of alluded to this earlier, but if you could change one plot point from the book to make the book bad, to improve, what would you change?
I think I would have told him earlier.
Yes, agreed. But then we would have had a whole new book and maybe it would have been better.
Yeah, I would have told him earlier. I would have told him.
Yeah, I would have removed the pregnancy altogether. And then I would have had it as just lost love and not missing kids and parenthood and stuff. And
I think I would have maybe gotten rid of the fiance. Like, I feel like that might have been just like an added step that made it way more messy than it had to be.
Right, like he could have been inspired because he
was enough.
Yeah.
Right, saw somebody who looked like her, or just even had that conversation with that Rodney guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Without the messiness of that. Yeah.
And he loved his fiance, but he wasn't in love with her.
Yeah. So we gotta rate it.
Oh no, here we go.
Oh my, Amity.
So I'm rating it a 2. This book was not for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 4.
Oof. Okay, so on Goodreads, I think I gave it like a 2 or 3 stars out of 5.
I did read some reviews on Goodreads, and we are not alone.
Yeah. So I'll give it a 3.
Okay.
Well, that averages out to a 3 out of 10, which is a 1.5 stars.
I'm disappointed because I loved her other series.
I know.
It almost feels like the same person didn't write it.
It felt rushed. I wonder if she was rushing to write it. Like
Maybe.
I just felt like it wasn't like
Maybe she'd recently fallen down a bunch of stairs and couldn't do anything.
Not to finish it real quick.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt like it was missing editing. There were a lot of things that were introduced that were unimportant. There was a lot of important plot holes.
Dates that Grace went on, like, I don't think those are actually relevant to the story besides making drama. Gabriel mad.
Yeah.
Drama. Right. And I think we should, like, I definitely think there should have been more development to Gabriel's character to make him seem like a decent human being. Like, was it funny listening to how little patience he had for like a single night of parenting? 1,000%. But I'm not liking him any better. Like, I don't like him as a dad. I don't like him as a partner. I don't like him as anything. Like, I'm hopeful that maybe the orcas get his yacht next. Like, that's where I was at. And I shouldn't feel that way about the male main character that I'm supposed to like by the end of the book. So
yeah. And you never saw her, like, and you couldn't like her because you were like, why is she obsessed with this asshole?
Right.
Like, it makes me feel like I'm back in college with the toxic ex that taught me all of the lessons.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. You know what? This book, it was he's rude to you because he likes you. And I feel like we've been doing so good at going past that and like, no, that's not how things are. And was Gabriel's like compelling thing. Like, oh no, he was a dick to me and made me watch him get dressed and paraded those women in front of me because he liked me. Like,
No.
I could not finish this book fast enough. It's probably the fastest I've ever read that many pages. That wasn't Harry Potter, like that I wasn't excited about. I don't know. I wouldn't have stuck with this book. I would have put it down.
Well, our next book is going to put us hopefully in the fall spirit. Well, Lauren and I are in Florida and it's still 90 degrees over here.
It's fine.
But it's called New Girl. Yeah, I know. New Girl in the Falls by Ella Gray. And I think it's a mystery book.
And this was a Steph pick, so
it's actually been popping up on my Kindle Unlimited advertisements. So
good stuff that way sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna have to see.
All right. So. Well, if you read this book or any other book that we've read, maybe not let them know that Shmindle Shmumlimited sent you to T L Swan's book, but any other books that we recommended, no, you can definitely share our name on that one too. But if you read any of these books and you review them on Amazon or Goodreads, please include that Shmindle Shmumlimited sent you. And if you wouldn't mind a quick review of our podcast on your podcast platform, we would be forever grateful. Thanks for listening to our reviews, rants, and ramblings. Have a great couple weeks, and we can't wait to read, review, rant, and ramble about the next book with you. Bye!